Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into a story many of us think we know, the story of Pocahontas. We've seen the animated movies, we've heard the songs, but how much of that beloved tale is real, and how much is a romanticized legend? The truth is far more complex, dramatic, and ultimately more human than the fairy tale. So, grab a seat, because we're about to separate fact from fiction. To understand the real Pocahontas, we need to travel back to the early 1600s, to a land the native people called Seneca, which is now modern-day Virginia. This was the heart of the powerful Powhatan Paramount Chiefdom, an alliance of about 30 Algonquian-speaking tribes. Pocahontas was born around 1596, and her real name was Amonute. She was also known as Matawaka. Pocahontas was actually a childhood nickname, which some historians believe meant playful one or mischievous one. She wasn't just any girl. She was the daughter of the paramount chief Wahun Senekaw, whom the English would simply call Chief Powhatan. As his daughter, she held a special status, but she was not a princess in the European sense. The Powhatan society was matrilineal, meaning lineage and inheritance were traced through the mother's side. Her father's title would not pass to her, but to his brothers or his sister's sons. Still, as the chief's daughter, she was an important figure within her community. Then, in 1607, everything changed. 3 small English ships arrived and established the settlement of Jamestown. This was the beginning of a tense and often violent relationship between the Powhatan people and the English colonists. The English were struggling to survive, desperate for food and unfamiliar with the land. The Powhatan were wary of these strange newcomers. This brings us to one of the most famous and misunderstood events in American history, the rescue of Captain John Smith. According to Smith's own account written years after the fact, he was captured by Powhatan's men and brought before the chief. He describes a dramatic ceremony where his head was placed on 2 large stones and warriors were ready to execute him. Suddenly, he claims, Pocahontas, a young girl of about 10 or 11, rushed forward, put her head upon his, and saved his life. It's a powerful image, right? A brave young girl defying her powerful father for a stranger. It's the cornerstone of the legend. However, most modern historians are highly skeptical of this story, and for good reason. Firstly, Smith didn't even mention this dramatic rescue in his earliest writings about his time in Virginia. He only added it to his accounts many years later, in 1624, after Pocahontas had become famous in England. By then, both she and Chief Powhatan were no longer alive to confirm or deny his story. Many scholars now believe that what Smith experienced wasn't an execution attempt at all. It was likely an elaborate ritual, a ceremony designed to adopt Smith and by extension the English into the Powhatan chiefdom. By saving him, Pocahontas, as the chief's daughter, would have been playing a scripted role in this symbolic death and rebirth. Smith, a soldier from a completely different culture, likely misinterpreted the entire event. He saw a threat where the Powhatan may have been offering a form of alliance. He saw a personal rescue when it was probably a political act. So the romantic spark between a grown man and a preteen girl? That's a complete fabrication. A creation of later storytellers and, most famously, Disney. In reality, their relationship was more like that of an ambassador and a curious child. Pocahontas did visit Jamestown several times after this incident, often acting as an emissary for her father, bringing food and helping to negotiate. She was a diplomat, a bridge between 2 clashing worlds, but she was still a child. The next chapter of her life is far from a fairy tale. As relations between the colonists and the Powhatan soured, the fragile peace broke. In 1613, when Pocahontas was about 17 years old, she was lured onto an English ship and taken captive. The English captain, Samuel Argall, held her for ransom, demanding the return of English prisoners and stolen weapons. She was held for over a year in the English settlement of Henricus. During her captivity, her life was transformed. She was instructed in the English language and Christianity. She was baptized and given the new name Rebecca. This was a massive cultural and spiritual shift. Was it her choice? It's impossible to know for sure. She was a captive, separated from her family and her people. The pressure to assimilate must have been immense. It was during this time that she met a tobacco planter named John Rolfe. In 1614, Pocahontas, now Rebecca, married John Rolfe. This marriage was not a simple love story. It was a strategic, political alliance. It brought about a period of peace between the colonists and the Powhatan, often called the Peace of Pocahontas. For John Rolfe, marrying the daughter of the chief solidified his status and business interests. For Chief Powhatan, it was perhaps a way to secure peace and ensure the survival of his people in the face of the growing English presence. For Pocahontas herself, it may have been the best choice she had in a very difficult situation. A year later, she gave birth to a son, Thomas Rolfe. The story doesn't end there. In 1616, the Virginia Company of London, the corporation that funded the Jamestown colony, saw a brilliant marketing opportunity. They decided to bring Pocahontas, John Rolfe, and their young son to England. Their goal was to showcase her as a civilized savage, proof that the natives could be converted, and that investing in the Virginia colony was worthwhile. In London, she was a sensation. Dressed in fine English clothes, she was presented at the court of King James III and Queen Anne. She was treated as visiting royalty, a symbol of the tamed New World. It was during this trip that she had one last and reportedly very awkward reunion with John Smith. He had let her believe he was dead years earlier. Seeing him alive in England must have been a profound shock. According to Smith, she was so upset she couldn't speak and turned away from him. Her time in England, however, was short-lived. The family prepared to return to Virginia in 1617, but just as their ship was setting sail, Pocahontas fell gravely ill. Whether it was from pneumonia, tuberculosis, or another European disease her body had no immunity to, we'll never know for sure. She died in the town of Gravesend, England, and was buried there. She was only about 21 years old. The story of Pocahontas is not a simple romance. It's the story of a clever, brave, and resilient young woman caught between two worlds in a time of immense conflict and change. She was a diplomat, a captive, a symbol, and a mother. The legend of the princess who saved the dashing captain simplifies her life, erasing the political complexity, the coercion, and the tragedy. It turns a real historical figure into a two-dimensional character that serves a comforting narrative about colonization. The real Matoaka, or Amanute, was far more interesting. Her life reveals the harsh realities of cultural collision in early America. She navigated an impossible situation with intelligence and strength. By stripping away the myth, we don't lose a hero. We find a much more compelling and tragic one. Her story is a crucial reminder to look beyond the fairy tales and question the popular narratives we're taught, because the truth is often more powerful. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the past. What do you think? Does knowing the true story change how you see Pocahontas? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video and want to explore more hidden histories, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.